Bonjour tout le monde, on est content de passer du temps avec vous encore aujourd'hui. So today I will be chatting together with Alicia Plummer from well, I was gonna name like your design company and then I'm like, it is Alicia Plummer.
Yeah. Yes, it is.
Donc, comme à l'habitude, je vais traduire en français aussi, donc vous allez pouvoir suivre. Et il y aura des sous-titres en anglais. Donc, so there will be subtitle in English for people who will be viewing it later. Great. So I'm so happy we get to talk together today. And we're getting together because you have released this week your Campside Classic.
Mhm.
So tell us all about it.
So every single year since the first year that I did the original Campside shawl, I've kind of added on a continuation. And the reason I did that is because it's such a calming, soothing piece to knit.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very special to a lot of people. And it was a lot of people's first knits, first sweaters. These are pieces that have ended up in labor and delivery rooms, and when people are
Mm-hmm.
passing, marriages, and then just people who are falling in love with knitting for the first time. So this is it's one of my favorite things to do. The eyelets are just so fun to knit, but they're also very accessible.
Yeah, it's a very soothing knit. Like I've knit the Campside shawl, the first one. I've knitted two times. I was gonna say three, maybe three, but I two for sure. My mom has one. I have a sample, and there might be another person out there that has one as well.
Yeah.
So just before we continue, I will
Yes, of course.
translate. Donc c'est ça. Donc avec Alicia, on va parler du Campside classique qui est sorti cette semaine. I'm just going back to English. I think some of them are available in French. Am I mistaken?
I believe some of them are, yeah.
Yeah, maybe I feel like the shawl is available in French.
I feel like the original, and then maybe the cardigan. I'll have to check. But
Cool.
if anybody wants to translate too, I'm more than happy to pay them
Yeah.
in patterns.
We should work on that.
Yeah.
I'll shoot you an email and we'll do that.
Yeah.
Donc, c'est ça. On parle du Campside classique et de la série Campside. Alicia disait que, dans le fond, depuis la première année où elle a sorti le Campside Shawl, ça fait quand même longtemps, je me souviens pas c'est en quelle année, à chaque année, elle continue la série parce que c'est un tricot qui est vraiment relaxant. Si c'est votre première fois pour le tricot, vous apprenez plein de choses, mais aussi c'est pas trop compliqué. Puis elle aime utiliser ce motif-là dans plusieurs situations, le genre de petite eyelet qu'on appelle en anglais, en français, je sais pas comment ça s'appelle. Et on disait que quelques-uns des patrons dans la série sont disponibles en français, donc vous pouvez regarder ça aussi. Et on regarde toujours pour en ajouter d'autres, donc gardez l'œil ouvert. So Alicia, what's your inspiration behind this knit? Behind the series?
Oh gosh, this is a hard one to talk about, especially this year. So, back when I was in my first marriage, we decided to sell my family camp, and I really didn't want to. It's where I grew up with my father, and it was a very special place for me, spending all summer with him every year. And he passed unexpectedly in 2007.
I remember that. So
Yeah, so that was really hard for me. And as part of the grieving process, while the cabin was on the market, I designed the Campside shawl. And basically, the concept is that the eyelets go from almost none to very, very frequent. And it represents both the thunderstorms that my father and I used to listen to, as they would come down on the roof of the cabin, because it was a insulated roof. So it was really loud. It was one of my favorite things to do as a child. But the eyelets also for me represented kind of sadness and tears, and all the tears that I had grieving both the loss of my father and the loss of this place that I could go to feel close to him. So it was actually a piece of my art that was born out of more negative feelings.
I understand. It's a very intimate knit, this first shawl. Yep. And well, it created a meaningful series. It's meaningful to you, and I know that it's meaningful to a lot of people. Mm-hmm. I think I don't know how to explain it, but I think people feel it. So yeah, that's why I think people are so drawn to it. Donc, Alicia nous explique de où vient l'inspiration de la série Campside. Et dans le fond, le châle qu'elle a fait en premier, ça s'est passé durant un moment où elle a vendu le chalet où elle passait ses enfances avec son papa. Son papa est décédé en 2007. Et dans le fond, c'est pendant ce processus de vente-là, elle réfléchissait au moment qu'elle a passé là-bas et qu'elle ne pourrait plus y retourner. Puis dans le fond, les highlights qui sont comme moins fréquentes au début et qu'il y en a plus à la fin, c'est un peu comme une pluie parce que son père et elle aimaient écouter la pluie quand ils étaient au chalet. Et aussi, ça représente un peu comme de la peine. Donc, ça représente comment elle se sentait par rapport à tout ce processus-là puis à cette situation-là. Et je disais que même si des fois on ne connaît pas l'histoire, je pense que on est comme quand même attiré vers ces tricots-là, peut-être parce qu'on ressent un peu les émotions qui vont à travers ce design-là. Super. So, Alicia, tell us about the newest one that you've just released. So we said, Campside Classic. So what are the features of the new one from this year?
So this is probably kind of the most standard fitting piece that I've done, because the other Campside Cardi is open front, back when that was like really a popular style. But I just love this one because it's really classic lines, and I'll stand up so you can see it a little better. And it kind of goes with everything. And the original photo shoot, I styled it with a duck t-shirt. And I can talk about why I did that in a minute. But this one also, it just like, I feel like it's at home in the office. And if you wear it with something like a bodysuit, it's kind of more dressy for like work, or going out to an art museum or out on a date. But if with a t-shirt, it can be really like casual and kind of dressed down.
I love how you have different outfits in your head for this knit.
Yes, yes. Well, I like to have a lot of versatility, because I like to keep kind of a lower number of clothing in my house if possible.
Yes. So, c'est ça. Donc, Alicia disait que l'inspiration pour celui-ci, celui de cette année, qui est un cardigan, je pense que c'est l'année dernière, elle a fait un cardigan qui était comme ouvert en avant avec une ceinture qui n'avait pas de boutons. Puis là, qu'est-ce qu'elle voulait faire avec celui-là? C'est que c'est vraiment une silhouette classique que vous pouvez porter à tous les jours, différents moments, et qui va avec tout. Puis c'est ça, c'était vraiment pour, dans le fond, elle a dit, j'essaie de garder un minimum de tricot dans ma rotation, et qu'elle voulait créer un cardigan qui avait cet effet-là qui lui permettait de le porter souvent. Elle nous a montré les détails, donc boutons, puis on a le rappel du motif comme les autres Campside. So, Alicia, I don't know if you have anything close to you. I didn't tell you that I was going to ask you this question, but what are you working on at the moment, or what's the next thing that's coming out? I just want to, if you have a little preview, or if you, yeah.
I have 3 different things that I'm working on, and 2 of them I can't share. So,
Okay.
but I can talk about one of them, and one of them is a mystery knit along shawl. And I haven't written a shawl pattern in a long time, and I haven't written a mystery shawl knit along in a long time. And this one is very accessible and very, very fun to play with colors without needing a high skill level to do so.
Cool.
So I'm excited for that one. And that one's in testing now. And then I'm also working right now. I have this one just sitting. And this is just kind of an oversized stockinette with like a folded ribbed collar. And it's pretty basic, and it's graded inclusively, of course. But I had to, right before Rhinebeck and Wollenfolk, I needed something to keep my hands going and my mind soothed for all the driving and then all the stress of everything there. And this piece has really been that for me. And so I'm now working on a second one because I just love the fit of this one so much.
Oh, that's so cool. Cool. Donc, Alicia nous dit, je lui ai demandé qu'est-ce qu'elle avait qui s'en vient prochainement. Elle m'a dit qu'elle a un mystery knit-along pour un châle qui va être très accessible où vous allez utiliser plusieurs couleurs. Et si jamais vous n'avez jamais fait de jacquard, ça va être un motif facile. Donc, c'est une belle introduction pour un premier projet avec plusieurs couleurs. Et là, qu'est-ce qu'elle nous a montré qu'elle tricote en ce moment? C'est un chandail oversize qui est fait en jersey. Qui va, dans le fond, elle a dit, c'est un projet qui m'a permis juste avant Rhinebeck, de pouvoir tricoter plusieurs heures dans l'auto, méditer, puis comme, tu sais, être calme. Donc, c'est le genre de projet que vous allez voir bientôt et que vous allez pouvoir peut-être faire vous aussi. Donc, un projet relaxant qui va être très enveloppant. Very cool. Alicia, tell me, why did you start designing? How did this came to be? Do you have any project, like something that you also, I was thinking, do you have anything that you've never released and that you think you should or shouldn't? Or, just like, I don't know if you have like a special thing that you're like, oh, this thing happened. I don't know. You tell
Um,
me.
so I started designing. It wasn't long after I first started knitting, and the reason I did that is because I live up in Maine, and I was kind of in a rural area. I'm more urban now, but it would probably still be considered rural compared to the rest of the country, I'm guessing. um, but a lot of the patterns out there were just a little bit more high fashion and complex than my lifestyle might have called for at the time.
I see.
Um, and so I didn't really feel like anything out there represented me and who I was. And so I just kind of started writing patterns for that. And
And
then
what
people
year
started
was that? That's what I was trying to remember.
2011,
Okay. Oh, so
2010,
you started,
2011.
that's what I thought, because we started like at the same time.
Hmm.
We've been collaborating for a long time, and that's what I had in my head, that we started dyeing yarn in 2011 as well. Keep going.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, you and I been together for over a decade. Oh, that's wonderful.
I feel so fortunate, that we get to work with yarn for work, but also all
Mhm,
the relationships that we've created, and all of them are ongoing.
mhm,
It's, I don't know how to say, because I was gonna say because I care, but I mean, I don't mean it. I don't mean it like I'm a special person, but it's just, relationships are really important,
mhm.
and I'm happy we get to work together all of these years. So thank you for that.
Yeah, I feel like when you and I first met too, like we really resonated. We had all those phone conversations. We just had so much in common about how we care about people and not just like the product or the
Yeah.
sale, you know what I
Thank
mean? And we want to hear
you.
people's stories. And so that connection was really special to me too.
I will. I'm going to translate now and we can
Yeah.
chat more. But, OK. So, Alicia disait qu'elle a commencé à designer en 2011, dans le fond, un petit peu pas longtemps après qu'elle avait commencé à tricoter. Elle disait juste que, dans le fond, à ce moment-là, v'là 12 ans, elle trouvait que quand elle regardait des patrons de tricot, c'était quelque chose qui était comme plus des œuvres d'art ou des tricots plus complexes, et que c'était pas très adapté à son mode de vie qu'elle avait à la campagne. Donc, c'est pour ça qu'elle a commencé à créer des pièces pour sa garde-robe, et les patrons ont suivi. Qu'est-ce qu'on a dit d'autre aussi? J'essaie de me rappeler. C'est pas comme si Alicia peut m'aider. Mais je pense que c'est principalement ça, puis c'est juste qu'on a parlé pendant un certain temps, que nous aussi, on a commencé à teindre de la laine en 2011, puis qu'avec Alicia, ça fait depuis ce temps-là qu'on travaille ensemble, puis que c'est le fun de pouvoir collaborer sur une longue période, puis que c'était important pour nous dans le fond, les connexions humaines qu'on a créées à travers le travail, puis comment ça rend ça plus joyeux, plus productif, puis aussi parce que c'est ça qu'on aime, c'est ça qui compte pour nous. D'accord. So, yeah, so we know how you started designing, and I guess it goes with the question that I've asked you earlier, like, how do you feel that your process has changed, or like, how have you evolved as a designer? And I guess I was just curious, is there anything that you've done that you've never released, something that didn't work, or something that you want to try you've never experienced with? Tell me all the quirky stuff.
Yeah, I definitely have quite a few pieces actually that never really made it past the chopping block. I have
Mm,
one sweater that I did in some Brooklyn tweed, and Brooklyn tweed is one of my favorite. I just love woolen spun yarn in
mm,
general. So anything that the
me too.
Harrisville mill puts out, I usually enjoy. And it was a slip stitch sweater, which had the fabric of the adventurist hat and mitts, which is basically just like knit one, slip one, and then you stripe it with two different colors. So
Mhm.
it kind of speckles. And I did an entire sweater down to this sleeve, down to like, this is all I had left. And I tried it on and I hated the fit. I steamed
Ah,
it and I couldn't bring myself to like rip it out either because of the amount of slip stitches and like alternate. So I
I'm
just
sure you
ditched it.
learned a lot of things.
Yeah, I did. I ditched it. And then actually it was a good thing I did because there was an indie dyer who also writes patterns for her yarn, and she a few months later released something almost identical to the concept I'd been working on, which happens in our industry.
It does, yes.
I
Mhm.
had a cardigan that I had designed that I absolutely loved, and then a good friend of mine pointed out that it looked a lot like another designer's work, and so I didn't feel that I could, in good conscience, release
Mm.
that. So I scrapped that whole idea and kept the math for like the bare bones of it, and then actually posted on Instagram, which was so much fun, and did a crowdsourced design. Like, do you want color work or do you want texture?
Ah,
And
I
then they
love
would
that. That's
vote.
interesting. So which
That
one is that?
that one is the community cardigan, and that
Oh,
one's upstairs. I had so
aptly
much
named.
fun. I think I'll
Ah, that's
probably do
cool.
that process again because I love creating community and having people kind of come in and have a voice and collaborate with me.
Ah, that's cool, that's cool. So, donc c'est ça, on parlait de j'ai dit à Alicia, tu sais, comme dans le fond, je pense qu'on va répondre après, mais je lui disais: «Comment tu trouves que tu as évolué en tant que designer? Comment tes designs ont changé à travers le temps, tout ça?» Puis là, qu'est-ce qu'on vient de parler, c'est, dans le fond, la question que je lui ai posée un petit peu tantôt, c'est, est-ce qu'il y a des prototypes que tu as fait qui n'ont jamais vu le jour, des choses que tu as essayées qui n'ont vraiment pas fonctionné, quelque chose qu'on ne sait pas, là. Puis dans le fond, elle m'a parlé d'un chandail qu'elle a fait qui était tout avec des mailles glissées, donc beaucoup de travail, que quand elle l'a mis, il était presque terminé, elle le met, elle n'aime pas le rendu. Donc finalement, elle dit, je voulais pas le détricoter parce que c'était beaucoup trop de travail, mais en même temps, finalement, je l'aimais pas. Fait que des fois, c'est ça, tu sais, c'est qu'il y a beaucoup de travail en arrière d'une conception. Nos idées reviennent, on change de façon de travailler. Donc, il y a beaucoup de travail qui est involved, désolé, dans la conception de patron. Puis ensuite, elle m'a parlé d'un cardigan qu'elle a fait, qui finalement, une de ses testeuses lui dit ton cardigan ressemble beaucoup au cardigan d'une autre designer. Donc, Alicia a dit OK, je ne vais pas sortir ça, je ne l'avais pas vu. Et qu'est-ce qu'elle a fait? C'est qu'elle a gardé le modèle du cardigan et pour les, excusez, les points puis les couleurs utilisées, c'est qu'elle a fait, elle a demandé à ses followers qu'est-ce que vous aimeriez? Aimeriez-vous un jacquard ici? On met quel genre de points comme ça? Donc finalement, ça a fait le community cardigan et elle m'a même dit je pense que je vais peut-être refaire ça un jour parce que c'était vraiment le fun de tous travailler ensemble sur le cardigan. C'était comme une activité de groupe avec tout le monde, donc c'est quelque chose d'intéressant. Cool. Yeah. So how have you feel that you've evolved as a designer?
Oh gosh. Well, I would say definitely one of the most enjoyable journeys for me has definitely been over time learning how the nuances of a good fit.
Mm,
And I feel like even some of my older pieces, they have a good fit to them, but I didn't offer them in a wide range of sizes because when I first started designing, I didn't quite understand how to create math or tailor for larger bust sizes. And I felt like
mm,
if people are going to spend the amount of time that they spend making and knitting a sweater, I'm not just going to give them crappy numbers so that they can invest all this stuff and then have like a really crappy fit at the end of it,
Mm,
because that would just how people feel in the things that I design matters a lot to me. And so I would say, as a designer, I've definitely grown a ton with fit. And then probably also with shape, playing with shape a little bit and stepping outside of my bubble sometimes of like
mhm,
super
mhm,
classic pieces, because I know as a designer my work definitely leans more classic than it does trendy. But sometimes kind of stepping out of that, or pulling
mm.
in concepts and shapes that are more trendy or more outside the box, and then applying them to a classic piece and kind of getting something that's in the middle.
Mm, Miss, I understand. I think it's greatly. I know it's greatly appreciated when designs are available that fits well, that people can tailor to their need. Because ultimately, this is why we make our own clothes, because we want them to fit, and it's worth it to invest time into learning
Mhm.
more about that as a designer. Because this is why people go to I'm gonna say us. I've never designed a sweater. I might someday, but I do have some ideas sometimes. So yes, this is very important. Donc c'est ça. Alicia, je lui demandais comment tu trouves que tu as grandi en tant que designer, et elle disait que qu'est-ce qu'elle est le plus contente, c'est que maintenant avec son expérience, les le fit. Oh non, je sais plus comment ça se dit en français. Comment le chandail nous fait dans le fond, puis les options qu'on a pour le faire à notre goût et qu'il nous fasse bien. C'est quelque chose qui est très important pour elle, et elle avait moins de connaissances au début. Et d'étudier ça, ben, dans le fond, ça lui permet d'offrir des meilleurs choix aux gens qui choisissent ses patrons, parce qu'elle voulait pas que les gens payent puis aient pas de bons résultats. Puis c'est ça qu'on disait. C'est pour ça qu'on fait nos propres vêtements, c'est pour que ça nous fasse bien, puis qu'on puisse les porter longtemps. Donc, c'est quelque chose qui est important en tant que patroniste. So, Alicia, I will ask you. I like to get to know sometimes some little fun facts about people. I like to talk about food because I like to cook, but I also think that sharing a meal with somebody else is a very good way to know somebody. So I'm going to ask you, what's your favorite thing to make when you have somebody over, and then what's your favorite thing to eat yourself?
Oh gosh. Hmm. That's a really hard one because I'm actually currently going through personally a lot of testing because I have my body has a really hard time processing food. So right now
Oh.
I'm on like an extremely limited diet. However, if I could only eat one cuisine for the rest of my life, it would have to be Eastern cuisine in general. I could live off of sushi.
Mm,
We make a lot of sushi in our house, and then as well as pho. And I have a vegan pho recipe that I use, and it's just there's rice noodles, and then to make the broth, it's a stick of cinnamon and a little bit of onion and some star anise
mhm.
there, and then let's see, and then some shiitake mushrooms,
Of course. Mhm.
and just some water, and you kind of just like let it cook and you reduce and you just keep adding water, and
Yeah, yeah,
it's a
yeah, yeah.
very
So that you can develop the flavors.
yes, yes. And then I put in like a little bit of tofu and a little bit of bok choy usually, and I find that that's a really, really healing recipe, and it's very
Yes.
simple, and it makes my house smell amazing.
I love that. And is that what you would serve if you were to have people over?
Oh yeah, probably, definitely, honestly. It would have to be a soup of some kind. I'm a soup person.
Cool.
I don't know if that's my body always saying that it's had digestive problems because soups are
No,
really easy on the
yeah,
system.
I understand. Yeah.
But I've always loved making soups, and that's always what I serve people too. Yeah.
Cool. Very
What about
cool.
you?
Um, it's hard to choose. I will say, so I really like Mexican cuisine. I like Mexican food.
Mhm,
All kinds, all
mhm,
kinds. I've it's something that I like to cook at home, that I like to eat at restaurants and at my friend's house, and also Middle Eastern, like anything Persian, like rice with meat, and yeah, these are some of my favorites. And this is what I also make when people come over. One thing that I've been really interested in is Quebec's own food. So that's something that I've been exploring. Like, what are our like grandmother's recipe and all that? I want to know
Yeah.
more about that. So I've been exploring that. Donc, je vais juste traduire. So, je demandais à Alicia ma question que je demande tout le temps aux gens. Qu'est-ce que t'aimes? C'est quoi ton plat préféré? Qu'est-ce que tu sers quand tu reçois les gens? Parce que je trouve que quand on mange ensemble, c'est là qu'on se rencontre, on se parle, donc c'est une façon d'apprendre à se connaître. Donc, Alicia me disait qu'elle aimait beaucoup les sushis et elle aime ça faire des soupes. Et que dans le fond, elle avait une recette de soupe avec un bouillon végétarien avec des shiitake, des nouilles de riz, on met du bok choy, du tofu, et que c'était très... elle trouvait que c'était très réparateur comme médicinal et que ça lui faisait du bien. Puis c'est vrai qu'une soupe, c'est réconfortant et c'est le genre de choses qu'elle sert aux gens. Ensuite, elle m'a demandé qu'est-ce que moi j'aimais. Ma cuisine préférée, c'est beaucoup la cuisine mexicaine et aussi Moyen-Orient, comme par exemple un riz perse avec de la viande. Et c'est aussi les choses que je sers aux gens quand on vient chez nous. J'aime ça, c'est des choses qu'on peut toutes partager ensemble et c'est ça, créer notre propre plat. So, Alicia, it was so fun. Sorry, I was gonna sneeze. Will I? Okay.
Bless you.
It was so fun to get to talk to you. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm sure that we will get to talk at some other time. But for now, Campside Classic. When is your? I know that on your social channels you've been saying that there's 25% off. Until when?
So I actually decided to do 25% off all of the Campside patterns so that
True.
people
Yeah.
and the code is Campside with no uppercase. And I'm actually going to leave it open all the way through next Friday because I didn't do a Cyber Monday or a Black Friday sale. And I kind of felt like, well, it's hard to keep
You don't have to.
visibility. It's so hard to fight for visibility in a very saturated market and with all these big box stores posting and everything. So if you want to support me, you can always buy a pattern, and if you don't want to do that, then just commenting on the pattern page on Ravelry can also really help me a lot. Any kind of comments anywhere helps small businesses immensely because it affects the algorithm so that it boosts our visibility a little bit without going into too much detail.
Donc, aujourd'hui, on est le 26 novembre. Donc, Alicia disait que jusqu'à vendredi de la semaine prochaine, que je sais pas c'est quelle date, 27, 28, 2, peut-être 1er décembre. Isn't it Friday 1st, December 1st?
I think it is, yes.
Okay, so until December 1st, Friday, 25% off with code Campside, all lower cap. Non, I'm supposed to say it in French. Hello! Donc, jusqu'à vendredi prochain, 1er décembre, Alicia offre 25% de rabais, non seulement sur le Campside classique que vous voyez aujourd'hui, mais sur tous ses patrons Campside, avec le code Campside, un mot en minuscule. Et donc, c'est ça, 25% jusqu'au 1er décembre. Profitez-en. Et elle nous disait qu'elle apprécie beaucoup quand les gens laissent des commentaires, soit sur Ravelry, sur les réseaux sociaux, parce que bien sûr, ça nous fait chaud au cœur, puis ça joue avec la visibilité, malheureusement. Donc, si vous voulez l'encourager, c'est quelque chose qu'on peut faire. So, Alicia, thank you so much. I'm happy we got to spend time together. And I'm wishing you a great week. Enjoy your time with your family, and we are looking forward to seeing your next design and also all the beautiful knits that are going to come out of the Campside Classic.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It was fun catching up with you again.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.